Hello and welcome to Draw 13 of the and Team Hebert. So as we start today, one thing we see often in first ends of curling is the blank, and usually that means the first team throwing the rock in the house, and then it's just a hitting game for the rest of the end. However, we just saw a little bit of a flash on our sheet here, which gives Lawrence the opportunity to throw up a center guard and potentially set up a chance at a steal this early in the game. Ideally here, they would like the center guard right on the center line so that they cannot be removed out the center line because of the no tick rule.
As well as protecting the pin and giving them the best chance to cut the scoring area down.
Correct. This rock comes in. Looks like it may overcurl just a little bit.
But that'll work out for them, as it'll cover up their rock in the rings. Some looking like some great sweeping from Ryland Donaldson.
Now Team Schoenhardt will switch gears from a blank and try and produce a multiple by throwing up a corner guard. Throwing up a corner guard often lets you move play away from the center line, and at the very worst usually gives you an opportunity to have a open shot for a point. It is a good way to produce a multiple because of all the rocks that would be on the wings instead of towards the center of the house.
It appears to be a well thrown rock, well off into the side. Good throw.
Now with the two rocks near the center line for Team Lawrence, it gives them an even better opportunity to throw up another center or even come around and put lots of pressure on this Team Schoenhardt, pardon me. If they can put one top four here, it's a pretty good opportunity early on just to put some pressure on them and make them make some good shots. And
it appears the call was into the rings. However, the guard appears to be more likely to be followed through on here. Setting up double centers, it's still a good chance for a steal here for Lawrence, but nothing is set yet.
Being this early on, Team Schoenhardt doesn't want to clog up the house too much and wants to leave himself a shot for points. So appeal here is a good option to keep things open and keep things simple this early on in the game.
Almost makes the double, but rolls away. Almost to be a good corner as well. Perfect throw from the second. And they're going back to the come around. Second chance here for Dylan Jost.
If he can sink one pretty good here, it'll put a lot of pressure on Schoenhardt to either remove these top yellows in the top of the house and guard zone or make a perfect freeze. Otherwise, Team Lawrence will be in a very good spot to put lots of pressure and potentially steal this early on in the game. This rock looks pretty good.
Sweepers are coming off of it, starting to clean. Oh, curling now. Oh, it's looking very nice. Crossing center very well. Great play.
Very nice shot there from Team Lawrence, and puts a lot of pressure on Team Schoenhardt here to make a good shot so that they have an opportunity to open up the house.
Playing the peel again. Would like to get one of the rocks in the rings as well, but simple enough to get the top rock as the play. Hugo Chow has a beautiful double peel and sets up a second corner guard. Perfect throw. Couldn't have drawn it up any better.
Very good shot there. Leaves two corners and an opportunity for a hit and roll potentially to sink one behind those corners and possibly generate a multiple this early on in the game.
Now Ryland Donaldson attempts to put the guard back up with his first rock of the game. Supers have switched. Looks pretty close.
Just gotta cross center a little more.
Just comes up a little bit short on the curl. Not too bad. Just leaves it a little too open. Given an opportunity to Schoenhardt to get underneath. And next up is Braden Hine, who I actually I practiced with last year at the Sherwood Park Curling Club.
With a good hit and roll here, Team Schoenhardt could be in a very good spot to make reverse the roles and make Team Lawrence make a good shot after this. Because if they're able to hit and roll underneath, they'll be above the tee line, and Team Lawrence will be required to either make a perfect freeze or a run back. This rock's a little wider out there.
Falling early. It's coming back a little bit, but won't be enough to stick around. Just enough, though, to kill the rock.
Just a little outward motion can sometimes push a rock out of the way, and often with that weight, you're not given much of an opportunity to bring that rock back for a chance to make it. Now it gives Team Lawrence a very good opportunity to sink another one, top four, top button, and put a lot of pressure right back on Team Schoenhardt this early on.
It appears they're knifing the rock to attempt to get it to start curling and decrease the weight. But it does still glide deep and just goes through the rings.
Team Schoenhardt now has the option to sink one top four just like Lawrence attempted to, or they could even rip the center and just play the rest of them open and go for a blank.
Coach calls the timeout, decides to rip the rock.
Still kind of a tough rip, because if you play the in-turn, there's a good chance you could stick on one of your side reds, and even with the out-turn, you might still clip one of your side reds, so it's not the easiest shot.
Just got to make it go away. Maybe you can set up a third corner, give yourself a chance at even more points.
Just a little wide on that one, and clips his wide corner and rolls right on top of their center guard.
Sets up a pretty straight angle, so any come around could still be dealt with on a run back, but not ideal.
It does get rid of the staggered corners. If they ever wanted to play that corner run, it's now available. However, I think just that little stagger on the center guards might make it a little difficult for Team Schoenhardt to play a run back on those center rocks. As we hear about Timothy Lawrence's first skip stone.
Supers appear to be calling this one good, maybe a little heavy. It's close.
This looks very good.
Switching for curl now. Just got to bury it down. Just runs a little too straight and still leaves it almost fully open. Gets into a good spot, just a little undercurled.
Still a good shot. It'd be very difficult for Team Schoenhardt to roll under with this shot. Their best shot may just be sticking on the nose and forcing Lawrence to either do the same or roll away, which could then lead to a blank, which I'm sure Team Schoenhardt would be very okay with this early on in the game.
Just want to play some soft weight here to make the little roll inside. But as long as they stick around, it should set up a pretty simple blank for themselves.
with this straight of ice, the shot may appear pretty simple, but it could still cause a little bit of issues for Team Schoenhardt with those staggered centers still covering a piece of the rock.
Especially with an out turn as a right-handed thrower, it's a lot harder to throw an out turn to get some curl. He's throwing it very close. Sweepers are on it. He'll get just enough to stick around, but not enough to roll in.
Very good shot from Team Schoenhardt. Leaves the rock open, but it does give Team Lawrence an opportunity to hit and roll under both of those guards. They have a lot of room to roll, and if they do, it's almost like it'd be a very good chance at a force here early on.
Force or a steal, depending on how far you want to roll this. You could attempt to roll a little shorter, but that could just leave the blank in play if you wanted to roll. But the play could be to overroll and leave him a more simple draw to get his force. Which would you rather play if it was you?
I think I'd much rather overroll. Early on, a force is very good. Later in the game, if it's a close game, late like 6th, 7th, 8th end, you might want to do the shorter roll closer to the pin.
More precise.
More precise, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But this early on, a overroll would not hurt. Just a little bit inside. May have started it a hair.
Oh, but he papers the guards and almost spins it back to the shooter.
Just a little bit of a miscue there from Timothy Lawrence. Gives Schoenhardt an opportunity for a wide open draw for 2 and get their deuce in the first end here.
Just draw to the paint. Could throw to backing, but elects to throw to center of the rings.
Just a little hot here, but luckily Schoenhardt just has to bite the paint. Sweepers are
backed off so far.
Yeah, backed off and walking beside.
Just needs to stop before the 12-foot.
Just in time. Just holds on for their deuce. Very nice shot from Team Schoenhardt as they take a 2-0 lead over Team Lawrence here in the first end.
Can we hear?
And we are back here for the second end of Team Schoenhardt versus Team Lawrence. Team Schoenhardt, having scored 2, gets to throw the first rock at the end. And usually this early, having scored 2 in the first end, a lot of teams would go top 4 and keep it simple. But Team Schoenhardt elected to be a little more aggressive and call the center guard. However, it did carry a little deep to the top 4, which is not a bad shot whatsoever. Very nice shot, right in the top of the button.
Great plan B from the lead. Definitely the right way to miss that one. No worries there. Lawrence appears to be following up with a corner guard, trying to set up their own deuce in the second end. Having a similar reaction to the red first rock. Sweepers are backing off a little early, just trying to curl this one, take a little weight off of it too. But it does appear to be sliding pretty close to the rings. Could be getting forced if they slide just a bit too deep. Could set up a force here if they don't get made. You gotta make a double now.
As for the other games around the rink, on sheet A, Team Hebert stole 1 to take a 1-0 lead after 1. On sheet B, Team Halushak scored a deuce over Team Hofstra to take a 2-0 lead. And on sheet D, Team Estopolis scored 1 point to take a 1-0 lead over Team Falcon. Back on our sheet here, Schoenhardt with a very nice hit and stick. Makes a very difficult double for Lawrence if they would like to attempt, but smartly Lawrence ignores and throws up another corner. I do believe another corner here is the right call this early. You have lots more stones to attempt to move rocks around and even maybe set up a double for you later in the end.
And even if it doesn't work out too well, there's still lots of time left in the game to make up points. Definitely a good time to be aggressive. Out of hand, looks to be a lot less weight. Sweepers are on it pretty early. And they got to switch it to get it over far enough to be a good corner, but it does appear to be pretty close out of hand so far.
Sweepers are really going hard at this, trying to get this over the hog line. They're just able to get over. Very good sweep from this
Great
front
sweep.
end, or from the second and third there.
Sweepers need more love.
I agree.
Us front end players, we don't get enough appreciation, but we do all the work.
I agree. Sweepers are very underrated. Some of the better sweepers in the world can save shots like no one's business. Sweepers can often make or break a shot, especially with those lighter weight hits or even draws. Those sweepers can really drag and manipulate those shots. So with a good set of sweepers, any shot can be made. Schoenhardt is going to follow this up with a attempted center guard. However, the sweepers are backing off just a little bit because it
Appears to be sliding into the rings.
they can.
Just trying to get it over to try and set up a even in the rings guard.
Not a bad shot at all. Covers off the.
It's a good line, just a little overthrown. Overall, not a bad spot.
This now gives Lawrence the opportunity to play hit and roll under the very high corner guard. And if they don't, even if they roll just on top of the opponent's red rock, it'd still make it a little difficult for Schoenhardt to remove on their next few shots.
With the guard being so high, do you think that it could be the roll could be accessed even if it is fully buried?
On a curly sheet of ice, I would say yes, but early on it appears there doesn't appear to be a ton of curl on the sheet. But even with that guard being so high, I'm sure they could definitely still access that rock.
Got some pretty good contact.
Yeah, because of
Maybe
how
not.
high the guard is.
Maybe not remove it. Oh, nice plan B there. Got the back rock. Not enough weight to remove it, but still appears to be maybe a little bit covered up and removes rocks from the forefoot, gives them more space to score.
Maybe just a little bit light on that shot there, but still not a bad shot whatsoever.
Forces Schoenhardt to make the hit now instead of being able to protect anything in the forefoot. Appears to be a little bit heavy. Sweepers are staying close. Gotta go for curl a bit now. It's a good sweep just to stick the shooter, or
It's close.
maybe. It's very close.
That could be the difference between a blank and a force here this early on.
I would have to say that's in the rings. I think
I think I'd have to agree with you on that one, yeah.
makes it a lot harder to blank this end away, but I'm not sure that's what they want to do with having a guard and a rock behind center or behind T. It leaves them a lot of space or a lot of opportunities to set up a 2. Throwing the double now. Bit of a positive release there, but it's a good throw. Switching for a curl now. Very close. And a perfect throw.
Very
Spills
good
it
shot.
right through, sets up a jam possibility, and kills both rocks. Very well thrown.
It's a very good shot. It brings it a lot closer to the back red and brings that jam into play now. Any over curl on this shot could cause a jam and may just give Team Lawrence that
Ability to get right back in this game with a 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Or even a 3 with the guard there. Appears to be a fairly positive release. Supers are on it though. Just got to make sure they got to hit this high side as to avoid any jam.
It's pretty close.
Supers back on, close.
Very good shot there.
Thrown. No panic, just had to get nose. Now Lawrence has got to make the roll again. Possibility of a jam, but at this point, doesn't matter too much if the left rock is in the rings. Could make a double if they don't make the roll, or both, which would be possibly ideal.
I'm not sure the team is that worried about the jam, because if the roll is made perfectly, they'll be shot anyways, so
Yeah,
just maybe another jam possibility.
just gotta.
But just looked like he just got it a little bit started there, unfortunately. Maybe a little bit tight. And that happens sometimes. I've known myself to do that quite a few times. As you could probably advocate for me there.
I've always been more of a wide guy, personally.
Yeah.
I
I
like
find it easier to be a little wider because it gives your sweepers at least somewhat of an attempt to save the rock.
I
However,
prefer wide on softer weights, but anything above 9.5 seconds, hog to hog, I would have to go with tight. I trust my sleepers.
yeah, that's a good point. The more weight you throw, the better chance you do have of holding it, just because there's not less time for it to over curl. But ideally, you can manage wide rocks, I think, easier than you can manage tight rocks for the most part.
Especially on draws and soft, even guards or soft weight hits. Just a lot simpler.
Yeah, 'cause with their sweepers, they can do some very powerful things with their brooms, and they can often sometimes even save your rock.
A little overthrown here, just ends up in the rings, but it's overall a good spot. Covering just top button, just on the corner of the previous rock.
Not a bad shot at all. Just sets up a double for Lawrence, but they also have an attempt to make that roll one more time.
Could possibly make the roll and spill the red underneath their own rock, set up a jam as well.
Much better throw there from Ryland Donaldson. Very close here.
Appears to be holding it just a little too high. Makes a double perfect, sits there, leaves the jam in play. It's a good throw.
Very good shot
Very
there
good
from Ryland Donaldson. Makes a double, sticks. The jam is always still a possibility there. And Schoenhardt now has to remove this rock without having the possibility of a jam.
And if he stays on or close to nose, he could leave the double, and I'm not so sure about that catcher on the outside anymore. It might not. If it's not in, then a double could save the blank.
That's true. From our angle up here,
And on the cameras, it does appear to be in, I think. However, from where I'm sitting, it does look out.
However, we are not on the ice, so we cannot determine that. We only have our guesses.
Might need to have a meter stick.
More often than not, I'm wrong, I feel like, in these situations. Ooh, tough luck there for Schoenhardt as they just overcurl it just a little bit, and they do jam on that back red, as Lawrence does get the break they need here. So a good shot here would be a nose hit is not the end, a pretty good shot as well. Even if a smidge roll in would be really nice. However, you don't want to play it too close to that back one because you would like to still keep those two rocks in play and make Schoenhardt make a play at it instead of giving them their break right back.
Don't want to give them their double.
Exactly.
Just make them make it before you make it for them.
That's a good way of putting it.
Should be a softer weight here with the guard there. Shouldn't be in play, but it's always a bit of a. It always feels larger in your eyes when you're in the hack. It's a good throw.
Very clean throw from Tim Lawrence there.
Running pretty nicely. Sweepers on it. Must be close. Looking good. It's coming in just a bit. Looks like he's going to get nose. A really good throw from Tim Lawrence.
Very good shot there. Makes it a very tough double for Team Schoenhardt if they want to take on that double.
And it appears as though the roll wouldn't give them shot either. So it's overall a very tough situation to be in.
It's a very good opportunity for 2 right back for Team Lawrence, barring a very good shot here from Team Schoenhardt. Although the hit and roll may make the double as well.
If it spins down with the hit and roll, it could be a perfect shot to set up a force. Or even a steal. If you leave him a quarter rock, he might chase. And with the guard there, it's always a little bit tougher.
Exactly. These shots, even though the guard's not in play or not covering the rock, you can always see it kind of in your eyes.
It always hurts just a little bit.
Yeah, you always see it and always in the backyard just a little bit.
It always causes that extra stress that you don't want to be thinking, but it's always there. Catches it on the wrong side a little bit, but rolls it right on top. And for shot, does set up a jam possibility and a little bit tougher for the 1 or for the 2.
It was a very good shot from Team Schoenhardt. Makes this hit and stick for 2 a little more difficult now because Team Lawrence does have to be cautious of the jam in the back 8. And a jam would unfortunately be a steal if it does happen. So they do want to make sure they roll in and keep that back yellow in play.
A dead jam, but if it does spill, then it could still be a 1.
That's true. Yeah.
Just needs to remove this rock for 1, stick it for 2. Sweepers appear to be calling it pretty good for weight. Got a curl early though. Just want to catch the inside of nose to make sure they don't jam.
Oh, very close. Very good shot there from Timothy Lawrence.
Sweepers made that one, I'd say.
I agree. That sweeper there definitely helped bring it back.
And
as Lawrence gets 2 right back and makes it a 2-2 game after 2 ends. And we are back for the 3rd end of this very good battle between Team Lawrence and Team Schoenhardt. Both teams exchanging deuces in the first 2 ends, and it looks like whoever may be able to force here might get the first upper hand of the game. Team Lawrence elects to throw up the center guard. Puts in a very good spot. Tight guard is always my preference when throwing up a center guard here. I prefer the tighter guard early on, just in case later in the end, if you do need to potentially make a run back, less of a distance between rocks, and gives you a higher chance of success versus a higher guard, which has a very precise shot range.
With the ice being as straight as it is, would you not think you'd want it a little bit higher, just so that it's easier to come around without risk of spilling off of the guard?
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility as well. Even if you're half open on this ice, I don't think it's bad at all for that straightness, because rarely on this straight ice can you hold will the rock curl up enough. So even if you did show half of a rock underneath the center guard, there's a high chance that the opponent would either roll away or even roll out and give you another opportunity right again to sink another one better. Interesting shot call here from Tim Lawrence to chase this one, biting back 12. I guess I'm more of an aggressive curler when I play my games, and I probably would have ignored this rock back here and just tried to put a lot of pressure on Team Schoenhardt. However, this is by no means a bad shot call. just keeps the game a little more open and all. But maybe later in the game, you might see a team ignore that rock and go around the center and start to push pressure on the opposing team.
It's all about how you want to play it. If you want a clean game, cleaner end, you can always just hit. But they do have that center guard for later in an end just to set up that force or even a steal if something comes down to it. Just need one miss.
Precisely. Team Schoenhardt seems to be okay with these hitting and will continue to hit up on this path. I think once the rock gets closer to the center line, or the T line, pardon me, you might see one of the teams attempt to make a roll underneath the corner guard, or center guard, pardon me, and put a lot of pressure on the opponents.
But for now, any roll towards center line would seriously hurt any. Could even roll out, actually, which would be a massive problem, giving them a chance to draw. But we do see a flash, which does give Lawrence the ability to just draw around on their own, ignore nothing to ignore, no rocks in the rings that they have to address. This is a golden chance just to get in there and set up a steal.
A good rock here would be top 4, even top button. A little higher is not bad. I don't think you want to go deep here at all, because that could give Schoenhardt an opportunity to come down and freeze right to you and be shot. So I think the pro miss here would be a little lighter. Top 8, even top 12 is not the end of the world. Give you something to come around or maybe even tap up later in an end.
However, with the deep rock, just to back T, you could allow them to freeze you and then you freeze on them. And without hammer, that's not the end of the world, as it would set up a pretty tough chance at a 2, but it's a real good chance for a force as well. So it's not the end of the world. He does come up light, but light's not bad with the guards. Still gives him many chances at a 2. Or a steal, sorry.
Team Schoenhardt originally went up and tried to peel. However, the coach feels that there is a different shot that should be called here.
What would you throw here if you are Team Schoenhardt?
I would be really aggressive and go around the center guard here. It's early on. Make them play make them chase you. And if you put a really good one like top 8, top 4, your chances of a 2 go significantly up, because it still leaves you with lots of scoring room. However, it appears they're going to try and attempt this single peel of the center line. Appears they'll be trying a double peel here and try to clear up the center.
Nope, single peel, throw in the outturn.
Outturn, my apologies.
Just trying to get rid of the center line, leave the corner guard up. It's a little tight at the center line to be a perfect corner, but still good enough that it's usable. Just want to make sure that everything's open up enough that they have their abilities to play late and no worries about getting stolen on. Just papered the first guard, pushed out a little bit. Not too bad, gives him a little bit more usable corner and allows for a chance at still a multiple maybe. However, it is close enough to center that Lawrence will be going around this.
A good rock here again would be top 4, top T. Make Schoenhardt chase you around the corner, or even make him attempt to freeze. Freezes are often considered the hardest shot in the game, and having attempted a lot of them, I could definitely agree with that. They have to be so precise, and any roll off or any heavyweight or lightweight, and you give the opponent a good opportunity to either remove the rock you throw or make another better shot off of it.
You were saying that for yellow it was better to be top 4 T, but with red you were saying 8 foot or 4 foot. Is there any reason for the difference in shots there?
I think for yellow, being without hammer, the closer you are to the T line or even the pin doesn't hurt you. However, if you are red with hammer, you always want to leave yourself lots of room for scoring. So if you do go top 4, top button, if you're red and they put a freeze on you perfectly, your scoring area is now knocked down to that 4 foot or even button, making it a much more difficult opportunity at a 2. Whereas if you left in top 8, maybe even top 12, you're giving yourself lots of room to score.
And on the peel, we just see them paper the top rock back to center line, but they do kill one of the guards. It is okay, they got rid of one of the guards, but it does move the rocks back to center line, which sets up a pretty... It's a good chance at a steal here for Lawrence if they can make this draw really good. And as long as he gets rings, he's still got a pretty good chance at a force. With that that early hit, gives him his chance to get his 2 here, or get his force. Just that early hit works out. It could anyways.
A good shot here would be top 4. Make it very tough for Schoenhardt to chase or even outscore later in the end. The shot looks really good. Sweepers are curling it.
Just dying down a little bit, just leaving another guard. Still not too bad, gives him a chance to come around it, but Schoenhardt can just rip and set up a pretty simple force, but it will, barring a miss or a double, they will still possibly get forced. Just got to make this double here first.
It appears Schoenhardt is okay with only scoring 1 here. They just don't want to have any opportunity of giving up a steal, which I think is a very good call this early on in the game. Scoring 1 here puts you up in the lead, and I think this early on it's important to have the lead as we get later into the game.
Does stuff the double peel, but he gets rid of 1 and rolls out towards the corner. It does set him up if he can get around that later, and with one of his last 3 rocks, it could play pretty well. But he does have to address the center line first with the rock that Ryland Donaldson will be throwing. Second chance of the draw should be pretty close. Sweepers are on it early again like last time, but it does appear to be some more weight, switching early just like last time. They are coming off it though, which does say it's a little bit more weight, or a little more weight.
This ice does seem to be very straight, so even the littlest bit of an outward motion can keep that rock out there. It does appear that's what happened. Still a very good shot.
Does set up a pretty good chance at a force, but if with a good roll here, if he can just spin it down for a shot, could set up a good chance at actually a deuce. Just needs to get a little bit of a grab once he gets to center line. All about a little bit of luck, but could happen. And if not, roll a little further over and maybe set up another jam possibility.
It's a little wide out of the hand here.
Is running straight. Just that path 2 or 3 times now. It's just not moving at all. It looks like that path. I don't think we've seen a single over curl around that area, so might be worth just tightening up some ice for the guys.
Yeah, I agree. After seeing a few of those rocks go down there, it definitely tells you that either that side of the sheet or that path, more specifically, is very straight. And that's one thing the teams are going to want to pay attention to come later in the game.
Well, actually, on the way coming on the last end, they had a few shots that curled towards the left side of the sheet, and those last 2 from the left side of the sheet to the right didn't move very much. So it could suggest that this sheet is a little bit slanted from the right to the left.
That's also very true. One thing you learn with curling is you have to really be good with reading paths and reading sheets, because every path, every sheet is different, and rarely do you play on the same sheet multiple times in a tournament. So being able to learn this path, learn the sheets quick, definitely gives you an advantage in these types of games where you might notice one path is straighter, one path is faster, and be able to use that to your advantage later on in the game when choosing paths to throw on.
This one does appear to be getting a little bit more curled than the previous couple of shots, but still running quite straight. It is going a little deep because I think they called the guard, but still not. It's a pretty good throw. Covers it up. It's got looks like Mitsopoulos is changing gears, or sorry, Schoenhardt is changing gears, my apologies, to instead of trying to set up a simple 1 for themselves, they're just moving into the 2, going in for a 2 here. All they need is 1 miss. If they make the shot and get a miss, they have a pretty good chance at a 2, and with a good draw here, it sets up a pretty tough shot for Lawrence.
Now realizing that with 2 rocks in the play and 2 rocks in the house and 2 rocks to come, there's a very, very low chance they'll blank. They switch gears, and with a good draw here, like Oliver said, could definitely put a lot of pressure on Lawrence here and may still be able to get out of this with a 2, which would be very good, all things considered.
And this is the side that appears to be getting a little bit more curl, but the sweepers are still giving a little bit of room. Appears to be close out. And it has started to curl a tiny bit now. Just got to make sure they got to get past that guard first before they can think about getting in the rings.
It's very close to that guard.
And just
rubs
gets
off.
contact. Appeared to have great weight. Just perhaps a little more ice, or might have been a little bit inside of the room.
Perhaps they got caught that they thought that it was the same on both sides, where it didn't curl as much as the other side. But that may show us now that the sheet does appear to be a little bit slanted, and we'll see if teams pick up on that later on in the game when it comes to especially these draw rounds or these low weight hits. The sheet or the path they pick could definitely impact how they make a shot here.
Could later on in the game make you decide which side of a guard you might want to peek a rock outside of, just to make sure that they have the toughest attempt at any kind of hit. Because if you can see a half a rock on a curly side versus half a rock on a straight side, it's never the same shot.
I agree. That's one thing you want to get used to doing. The more and more you curl, and the further and further you get into your curling career, is that you always want to kind of think, what shot do you want to leave your opponent in a situation like Oliver's talking about. When going under guard, what side of the rock would you like to show? Would you want to show the outside and make him chase it wide, or would you want to show him on the inside and potentially bring in that guard? It all depends on the sheet you're playing on, because on this sheet, showing a piece on the straight side may not be a bad option at all, because it forces someone to entices them to maybe chase it. And with the ice being so straight, any outward motion on their rock definitely make that rock run straight, potentially make it much more difficult to make that shot.
It appears as though after the timeout, Lawrence has decided to throw a guard, forcing. With this shot, it would force Schoenhardt into a wider draw against a pair. This is a very mature call, very veteran. No risk here. With an out-turn draw, they could actually give up a 2 if they just tap the wrong rock. But with this, they can protect and force Schoenhardt in a much more difficult draw. We forgot to do an update for the sheets, but on sheet A, Hebert stole 3 to make it 4-0. On sheet B, Hofstra did take a 1 to make the score 2-1 for Flushak. And on sheet D, Mitsopoulos stole 2 to make the score 3-0.
So it's like a very good rock from Timothy Lawrence. Oh, it's definitely just took off on him a little bit there.
Oh, they are throwing the draw now. And just touches the guard. But they do spin it right the red one, which will cut the drawing area down for Schoenhardt quite a lot.
It's a very tough shot here for Schoenhardt to navigate that low port with their out turn and bite a full part of that forefoot to score their point here. But if he throws the same weight he threw last time, I'm pretty sure he'll be very close to that shot.
Should be doable. There is a hole and there is a area to shoot for. It's just he is shooting against 3, so the pressure, he will be feeling the pressure here. Is there any other shot that you would consider throwing here, or is this the one that you feel is correct?
I think this is the correct call. If you're really confident, you can play the run back or tap on the rock that was just thrown. I would not suggest throwing a run back with weight, because if you did miss by like an inch wide or inch tight, you may give up a steal of 3. However, if you just threw like back 8, back 12 weight on a tap back, you'd be pretty close to scoring. But I think this is definitely the shot you want to be throwing right now.
Sweepers are on it early, but they are backing off a little bit. Line appears to be pretty close. Just got to be full forefoot here. They are switching for curl, I think.
It's a little light.
Just a little bit down. The third has taken over. It's got to be at least full 12 foot to count out second rock. It does appear he has cut them down to just 1.
It's a very good shot there from team Nathan Schoenhardt. Cutting them down to 1 there's not bad at all. Definitely better than a potential steal of 3.
However, Lawrence does walk away with the steal of 1.
However, yes. And we are back for the fourth end of a very tight battle between Team Lawrence and Team Schoenhardt. Team Lawrence elects to go top 4 here, forcing Schoenhardt to make a decision on whether they want to blank or will throw up a corner at an attempt for a 2.
Does run a little bit deep into the back forefoot, but with the sweep from Rylan Donaldson, it was taking weight off, which well managed, just a little bit overthrown. Still very close.
Do you want to explain what Rylan was doing there and what the physics behind that may be, just generally?
I don't really know how it works, but what I do know is I was taught how to do that by Mark Kennedy, and he explained it to me and my team that when you do that, it starts the break point for the grok earlier and just takes weight off of it because of how much it will curl more. So it will decrease how far it goes, but it makes it curl more. So it is a give and a take. If you are tight, it's tough to do that even if you are heavy, but it does work to take weight off of a draw if you need to. It doesn't work so well on anything above about easy, but I know me and my teammates do it as much as we usually do about 3 before we start just regular sweeping. Just try and make rocks curl, or if we need them to take weight off of it, we'll do 2 or 3 of those before we just kind of let the rock stop on its own.
I agree. I've noticed on my team this year, actually you're on my team, so it makes sense, that knifing technique has been very effective for slowing rocks down, because there's been multiple times, I think a lot of other teams could probably say this as well, is where that knifing has worked a little bit, where you think a rock may be going back 8, back 12, but with that knifing technique you may see it stop back 4. And that can often be sometimes deceiving for times, because if a team is trying to follow you down and say you have a 14 back 4, however you had your sweepers try and knife the weight off of it, it may deceive your opponents into throwing a 14 to follow, which may go back 12, back 8, and will sail right past your rock. So it's something you got to pay attention to as a skip, especially, or even as a thrower too. What your opponents do and what their sweepers may do, and how it may impact the time on that stone.
But that also applies to how a thrower throws a rock in terms of rotations and their release. So overall, you just always have to focus on how someone throws their rocks before you can follow their times or their ice, because if a team throws a lot of rotation or a fairly positive release, their rocks won't necessarily curl as much as your team's may. And it's all about understanding what your team does and what they don't do, and understanding your opponents as well.
That is also very true. One thing I've noticed this year especially is our team has some softer releases on, and whereas a lot of our opponents do have a little more positive releases, and I've learned that a lot of time you can't quite follow their paths, because with softer releases that means your rock will curl a little bit more. So it'll force you to go a little bit wider on your rocks. Whereas if you have a more positive release, your rock will run straighter and will often have less curl near the end of it.
And Lawrence has sunk 2 rocks underneath the center guard, perfect throws from the first 3. And Schoenhardt is immediately going to have to bail out of this end to try and salvage something, because they are in some trouble right now. Just going to need to make a couple of doubles to save themselves here. Nothing too impossible, just got to make some shots.
Very good setup early on from Team Lawrence. Has a ton of pressure on Team Schoenhardt, continuing on from last end, where they were able to steal 1. At some point, Team Schoenhardt will have to make some sort of run back or some sort of double, because Lawrence is just able to throw up centers after center, with there being no red in play that they have to worry about. So Lawrence is in a very good spot here, and Schoenhardt may have to make some very good shots in his next few to get out of this.
Their saving grace is that they do have that corner, so no matter what happens late in the end, they will be able to play an angle run into there, which will be difficult, but it is an option if it does come down to that.
That is true. I always found as a skip, angle run backs are one of the hardest shots you can throw. Very rarely do you ever make them on TV. They make them left, right, and center, and it makes you think that you can make them. and then you get on the ice and attempt one, and you realize it's nowhere near as easy as you make it seem.
This guard does under curl a little bit, stays a little bit high, does leave an opportunity, and this is the curly side, but we do have to see if they do notice that this is the swingy side and take just a tiny bit extra ice to make the shot. Just a soft weight hit, it appears.
If you can stick right on the nose of these rocks, that'd be very good, because you keep a red right on the top of the house with a yellow basically right below it, making it very hard to remove.
Just caught it a little bit too far on the high side, rolling just a bit far, but it does remove the 2 rocks from the forefoot, which will help in their ability to at least take one here. It does help them.
One big thing there is that the red did stick around, forcing Lawrence to make a decision on whether they want to ignore it and go around the center guard or hit it. Lawrence has elected to hit it, which is probably the safe call. But me being an aggressive skip, I probably would try and go underneath and put more pressure on him. But this is by no means the wrong call. It just depends on how you as a skip prefer to play your game. And this appears to be how Lawrence likes to play, and that can often work out very well for teams.
An update on the sheets. On sheet A, Hebert stole another 3 to make it 7-0. On sheet B, Klushak took 6 to make it 8-1. And on sheet D, Mitsopoulos stole 2 to make it 5-0.
It appears a lot of these games on the other sheets have been a little one-sided, but we've been lucky to have a very close game on here on our featured sheet between Lawrence and Schoenhardt. Schoenhardt is now elected to play the hit and roll towards that yellow, potentially setting up a double and maybe giving them the possibility to get out of this end with a blank if wanted.
They did switch turns into the straighter turn and just catch it a smidge too thin, and another rock with that one turn that just does not want to curl very much. Just gotta take a little less ice or throw less weight, because it's gotta be 4 or 5 now with that turn. Just going to the right side of the sheet, it doesn't want to go too hard. Leaving Rylan a chance to just hit the back rock. Again, another chance where they could have gone behind the center guard, but elects to chase the back rock.
A nose hit here would leave a pretty simple double back, so Lawrence must be okay with getting out of this end with a blank. And
with the rollout, it does appear the blank it's in the play, but with the 2 guards up, it is still a very good chance to take a 2 here with the rollout. Schoenhardt has to roll over, preferably all the way to the corner guard because of how high that center is, but it is still behind the center guard. It's still something to look at. Either way, just want to make that roll towards that side.
In an even end like the 4th end, Team Lawrence would not be upset with a blank end, because one thing that's pretty talked about in curling is having hammer in the even ends, which obviously we all know an 8th end is the even end. So having the hammer in the last end is very important. So a lot of teams do like to try and have that hammer in the last end. So blanking the 4th for Team Lawrence without the hammer is not a bad thing here. If it gives them an opportunity to force Schoenhardt in the 5th end and potentially get the hammer back in the 6th. However, Schoenhardt did roll out, unfortunately, on that draw of the button, or on that hit, pardon me, and gives Lawrence a very good opportunity to sink a rock top 4 and put a lot of pressure on Nathan to make a very good shot and try and get out of this with a potential blank.
It is a little bit early to be worrying about having hammer in the evens with 4 ends to go even after this. It's a lot of time for the hammer to switch back. So I don't mind if I'm Lawrence to just get a force here, or even if I do steal, that's pretty good too. But either way, just want to make sure that they keep themselves protected. And here's Ryan. He is knifing again, so that must mean the weight's a little bit up.
That rock is really moving.
It is
That's
diving
very
early.
effective sweeping there.
Great sweeping.
The rock may even peek out the other side of this with sweeping.
He's going to show up, yeah. Probably half a rock almost. Great sweep. He got that one to stop on the steep team line. Probably showing a little bit.
But that is the straight side, so that...
It is the straight turn, yes. So
I think Lawrence
it's a
would
tougher
be more
shot.
than happy to have that poke out on the other side and potentially entice Team Schoenhardt to follow him down on the out turn and chase it out.
And with the outside guard, that is a port, so if he's out wide, he could end up clipping the guard, roll through, get rid of his own corner. Overall, great throw, great sweep from Team Lawrence.
Team Schoenhardt elects with the peel here, which is by no means a bad shot. Requires Lawrence to either draw open side if they're okay with the force, or even throw up a better center to potentially play for a steal here. This shot requires Lawrence to then follow up with a very good shot. Otherwise, Schoenhardt may still be able to get out of this end with a blank.
However, with a good guard after this one, it could leave the chance for a pretty tough steal, because it's a cold draw to the bud, and that's nowhere near easy. Out of hand, no sweep, just a clean though, so he must be close. Looks like it's just gonna be a clean rip, low flop outwards. Yeah, he's got it. Great throw.
Now Team Lawrence has the option to go open and just leave them a open hit for a force, or they could throw up another center guard if they'd like to play for steal. However,
they do elect for the open draw just to get a force here.
This is a very good call in my opinion, because being able to force them and take hammer into the second half of the game is very important. It basically turns into a 4-end game with you have hammer, so you can control the game and how you want to play it with hammers. So this is a very good shot call from Timothy Lawrence.
Would you ever consider throwing the guard, or even a top 12 hit draw, just to set up a chance at it's a steal of 1 or even 2? If you, with a top 12 rock, you're forcing them into either a tougher draw or a double, which a miss on the double is the steal, whereas a draw to the open side, it does leave them a pretty wide open hit for their 1.
I do love that top 12 kind of guard / draw. It works as both a draw, a counter for second point, but also it guards the top, the shot rock, and often could entice a team to play that double and may end up leading to another steal. But by no means is the open
draw works just as well, and they made their ring, so they got exactly what they needed to with just an open hit for the force here. Could play the long double, but it's tough to do that and roll out, so this is definitely a good call.
Just stick on the nose. They do have a little bit of room to roll, but I wouldn't want to play too much into the roll. I think nose here would be the best outcome. Just right on the nose, give her some confidence into the next half of the game, and go into the break having thrown a very effective shot.
It is the straighter side, and it does appear to be a little bit more weight than the previous few shots have been, but definitely just got to make the shot. Supers are on it. Looks pretty close. On and off must be really good. Straight on the nose. Great throw. That makes the score 3-3 going to the 4th end break.
We will be back in approximately 5 minutes. And we are back for the second half of this very close battle between Lawrence and Schoenhardt. I feel like I've said that between every end, but it's turned out to be a very good game between the two teams. Schoenhardt elects to throw up a center guard. It does overcurl the center line, but does definitely still stay close to the center line.
It is a little bit high up, but you can throw up a second one to set up a pretty good chance to steal. Just gotta watch out for what Lawrence can do with their first couple shots. First one elects to be a corner guard.
As Team Schoenhardt, would you elect to throw that second center, or would you be okay with being that high and just sink one around?
With the corner up, for sure, I throw that second one, because you feel like if I throw up a second guard, they sink their first one, and it's pretty high too, so they can, if I throw up the second guard, they could throw up the second guard as well, and then just first person to make a really good draw, and then you're doing pretty good. But I would definitely throw up the second guard. And if you end up in the top 12, that's still pretty good, but you'd want to be just offside a little bit, so you can leave yourself that ability to draw still. But still, I would 100% throw a second guard here, and if I end up in the top 12, it's still fine.
I totally agree with the second guard here. If Lawrence decides to throw a second guard as well, you sink one around both those centers, top 4, and then they're chasing you for the rest of the end until they can make either a double peel or somehow remove that rock in play. Because if you put up these 2 double centers and then sink another one around.
It is running a little deep, which this could end up just being their draw, but it does peak out quite a lot. So they're going to have to, if they want to guard it, they're going to have to guard a second one. If this rock doesn't, with the freeze here, would you make the freeze here, or would you try a chase or go around your own corner?
I think I would try the chase. This is the curlier side, so even if you roll open with like a board hack weight shot, that's still a very good shot. But a freeze is not a bad call here either. If you set it on the angle, you could set yourself up a very good angle to potentially remove that rock and stick your shooter plus the one you put on top here. This may be a little bit of an aggressive call, but it's definitely not a bad shot whatsoever.
And with the center guard not on the center, they can touch this guard like they do and spill it towards a corner, which does choke off their corner, but it does still leave a guard, and they rolled over to be another corner guard, which very, very much in play. But it does leave Schoenhardt with the ability to guard and set up themselves for a very good chance at a steal.
If they throw up a guard here, there isn't really an easy draw path into that 4 foot. You may be able to get in through the red corner and this potential center guard, but it'd still be a tight draw path to get to the 4 foot with where that rock top 8 is.
And especially if the guard gets tight, it could make this a very tough draw path. But it does look to be a little heavy to hand. The sweepers have backed off. It's curling up pretty nicely though, so it could be coming off.
This rock does seem to be carrying a little more. If they can freeze it right on the nose, it's by no means a bad shot.
No, it's nice 3 guard.
Nice 3 guard. Very good.
That hole on the right does look actually a little more manageable now with that guard. It doesn't feel too bad. If it had been about a foot or 2 deeper, it would have been really tough. But with the in-out, there's no reason to worry here. They can sit just outside of the edge of 4 foot, and I believe they could get shot with a perfect throw. But still, even second shot it definitely leaves options.
If Lawrence can sink one here, I could see Schoenhardt throwing up another guard even, and it would then force Lawrence to try and open up the centers and have access to those that top red. However, this rock may even be buried and shot.
It is. It's shot for sure, but it does appear to be 3/4 of ish open from here. So they can play the hit and roll one way or another, depending which way they want to go. I would personally roll back towards the center line, try and set up 3 in a row.
Yeah, if you can roll center right behind your 2 reds, you're in a very good spot for a steal here.
Be great. The only possible problem would be if you roll it a little bit too steep, you could be behind T, which would allow for the freeze. But because you don't have hammer, you can lock it on top, and then it is a very difficult chance for Lawrence to get 2.
I think you're okay with going a little. If you roll behind T, I don't think it's the end of the world. It forces Lawrence to make a very precise freeze, in any roll off or any little bit of extra weight or less weight, and Schoenhardt could access that rock very easily.
Perfect
and
throw.
They make that perfect shot.
There's the sweepers. Got that really going early and got that curl perfectly. Now they have to rip. They do have access to the button and the pin, so there's always a draw for their one later in the game, but it'll be tough, and they gotta make all their rips first.
If they make this perfectly, there could be a triple. You would need a little bit of weight, but it's definitely there. But if you can just move some of these rocks around and get these rocks off the forefoot, that would still be a very good shot.
The only trouble with throwing the chance of the triple is there's a good chance you keep your shooter really close to the center.
Very good shot there from Team Lawrence. Rolls for another corner. So if they can ever get one underneath that corner, it'll be very protected.
Just gotta address the two in the forefoot first. If they get one guard that's not covering, they can make a double and flop towards the corners, which could turn this whole end around for them. But just a guard, gotta cross center a tiny bit. Would prefer to show them the right side of that top rock, just to ensure that any roll that they could play off that rock would be away from that cluster of guards. It appears to be a little bit down, just the sweepers, but line's looking pretty good.
If they can get this over the hog line, it'd be a very good line. Just a little light there.
This
opens up the door for a good hit and roll here from Team Lawrence. I wouldn't focus so much on the double quite yet, but if you can make a really good roll under the corners, and I think in doing so you may just still make the double.
See, I personally, I think I would focus on the double just to ensure that the forefoot gets cleared, because at least this way, if you make the double, no matter where you roll, they can roll to the corners first, which is not ideal, but it does leave you the ability to just get your one later in the end with a fairly decent draw. It's not the most easy thing, but it is definitely a possibility. But this rock is running very straight out of hand. Just papers the top one, but still gets the back one. Just appeared to be a positive release with a lot of weight. And it was that the straight side? I can't remember. Yeah, that was a straighter turn. And just with that turn, with that much weight, it's almost like it might fall out of hand. So you'd almost possibly give negative ice.
Schoenhardt can go right back up and throw another center guard. A tighter guard here probably would be ideal. Make that draw path a little difficult if for any draw attempt that Team Lawrence wants to attempt. However, the later the end gets, I think Schoenhardt may contemplate playing a tap more so on their last shot to tap that top red into the forefoot, even to T-line, and kind of almost play like that shot we had talked about in the previous end as like kind of a draw guard on the rock. This rock appeers to be just over
maybe
the
barely
hog
over.
line.
It's just over. That's two in a row that one just got over, one didn't. That path could be a little bit slower, not sure, because both times the sweepers waited maybe a quarter of the sheet, I think, at least to sweep it, which could indicate that the path is slowing down a tiny bit.
But they are calling a technical timeout to confirm whether this is over. Talk about a high guard. That's about as high as you probably get there. I'm curious for the time on that one.
Either infinite or I'd say 20.5.
Yeah.
Maybe 21.
Depending on how the sheet is working, you definitely get up into the 20s with guards, especially with your very strong sweepers nowadays. They can carry rocks very far, and you can very easily get rocks over 20 seconds over the hog line.
It appears that they're bringing out a right angle just to check. This will be pretty much very make or break for Schoenhardt, as if that rock's not over, it leaves it's a wide open rock. They get a chance at a roll at the corners for a possible 2 or 3.
And the umpire
says it's over.
Does say it's over. That is the same tool you would see used for a rock to be measured on the center line for a guard for the no tick rule. That just shows like it lines up with the line of the both center line and hog line, and if it touches the rock, it means it's on both lines. So if it was off the little triangle there, that means it was clear of the hog line and in play.
Just a quick update on the other sheets. On sheet A, Duncan took 4 to make the score. Took 2 to make the score 7-2. On sheet B, Hofstra took 3, making the score 8-3. And the score has not been updated on sheet D, but they are in N5. It was 2. I am being told it was 2 for red, making the score 7-0.
A very good shot there from Team Lawrence. Can't quite tell who shot, but they were able to remove the rock off the forefoot and sit almost perfectly behind their corner guard.
It does appear whoever shot now will be shot at the end because you cannot see any of that red. And there's just a tiny bit showing on that yellow, but not enough to stick around, so neither team will be chasing those rocks. If you were throwing, would you go underneath the center guard with being how high it is, or would you try and get underneath that corner first?
I think you'd want to play, like, especially for Schoenhardt not having hammer. I think you definitely want to play towards the center.
For sure. But it's just it's
that guard
quite
is
high.
That guard is very high. It's basically not.
It's basically not there.
Because if you're gonna get close to that guard, there's a good chance you were gonna roll out anyways. So if Schoenhardt makes this rock really well, I think Lawrence just has to remember how high that guard is, and how that rock may not be as much in your eyesight as you may think it is.
Does spill off the guard though, so takes away the out turn draw path pretty good. There's not a whole lot of options there. He's forcing Lawrence into the other turn, which is a pretty it's a bonus for the plan B at least. This is a new path. This is the path that Braden Hine did have to throw twice in his guards, which did appear to slow down a little bit, which could cause some trouble for Lawrence. Just gotta see if he's picked up on it or if it was the path.
I think here you can afford to overcurl your rock closer to that other red corner on the right side, because it appears there may be a port through there, but it is very tight, and I'm sure Lawrence would be fine having them attempt that port against maybe 1, maybe 2, and potentially even get you a shot for 3. With this side being the straighter side, it is very tough to navigate this port. It appears they did get caught on the fast side, or on the straight side, pardon me, and did rack on that corner guard. They did roll to a center, giving Schoenhardt a very good opportunity to sink a rock here. And if they can put one underneath those 3 rocks close to the center, I think there's a very good chance they steal here.
And with that rock, from on the screen, it doesn't appear to be, it's hard to tell, but from where I'm sitting, it does look as though red is shot 1 at the moment. So with a good draw here, it could put the pressure on against a possible steal of 2. Although it's a straight side, so he could still leave a piece open, which if he goes deep leaving a piece open, there could actually be a double for 2. This does appear to be a little bit more weight than Braden's rocks were, as it needed to be, but it's running pretty heavy the way the sweepers are walking, and the straight side is looking like it's striking again.
Oh, it's pretty close by that guard.
Just papered it.
Just rolled, but they may be able to roll for shot here.
Still roll for for shot. Just enough, it appears, to be shot. Now there is a lot more space here for Lawrence's draw. Just gotta touch 8 foot. And
Coach is calling a timeout here. I'm curious what he's talking about. Maybe he's just reminding them that it is a straight side.
Maybe, yeah.
So just to be careful with those corner guards.
That's I imagine what it is, because I don't see any chance at a double, or even if they are second shot on the outside, there's no access to either of the rocks unless they want to throw a pretty tough double run or a run on any one of the rocks. They got a few. They do have a few options for run backs, but it's too close to be risking that, because if they are shot one or two, if red is shot one or even two, they could be given up a pretty big end if they try anything else. Just got to draw to the 8 foot, nice and easy here. Sweepers are on pretty close early, does look close. Do have to go a little bit for line.
That did cut on them.
They got inside of the path, which was running straight, and it just took off. Maybe there's a ridge somewhere along the middle of the 8 foot, because they took even an inch less ice and it just dove on them early.
And that is a one for sure.
Possibly two for red.
Possibly two. We'll see what they put up on the scoreboard here. And it was, in fact, two for red, as Schoenhardt takes a 5-3 lead after the 5th end. And we are back for the 6th end of this close battle on Sheet C between Team Lawrence and Team Schoenhardt. Team Schoenhardt, having stolen 2 in the last end, elects to go top 4 here. With that steal of 2, Team Schoenhardt takes control of this game.
Especially having taken another point in the 4th end. They definitely have a lot of momentum on their side right now. It's going to be, they do have to, it'll be, Lawrence is going to have to work to get that back. They do have hammer in the evens though, with 2 hammers to Schoenhardt's 1, which does give them a pretty good chance still.
With the old 2-1-2 here, Lawrence could be in a good spot. Just gotta put up a couple corners, clear up the center, and maybe you'll get a good chance at 2 and maybe even 3, depending on how all the shots go. I think it is important here to score, though. Keep that hammer in evens and also kind of stop Schoenhardt's momentum if at all possible, and maybe gain some momentum for those later 2 ends going forward.
If you were to get to a point where a blank or a force was or if you were to have to blank or take 1 here, what would you decide?
I think I'd still probably blank, because if you do force, you basically have to steal most likely 2 more ends unless you can get a multiple steal.
Not necessarily. With the blank, you could take 2 in the next end, and then it's just a tie game. All you have to do is 1 stealed end.
That's true.
It's just a thought. There is, I think typically you would take the blank end, but I have played against teams who, in a similar situation, did elect to take a point in the 6th end to keep hammer.
With the point, you basically have to be confident in yourself that you could steal, because if you do take a point, you'll either have to steal twice or you'll have to score at least 2
after
in the
getting
8th end, after getting a force in the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
So I think scoring a multiple here would be very ideal for Lawrence, but I also believe that scoring here would be also a very good momentum shift for Team Lawrence here.
They do like to go around their corner, even with Schoenhardt, having the center and the guard or the rock behind it. It has over curled, but that does still leave them with 2 corner guards, which is A-okay in my book.
I wonder if he
we
just got
have a finale on sheet A. Hebert, I believe, took 3, and that is handshakes after 5. They took 4, sorry.
Hebert is now into the semifinals tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Their opponent is undetermined, I believe, at this point. But with a win here, Team Schoenhardt could be that team against Team Hebert in the semis.
Schoenhardt appears to be throwing up another center, trying to get closer to center line here, just to set up a chance of another steal, which would really help with momentum. They are calling it a 3, so it's just a little bit deeper than maybe they wanted, but still very good. Splitting center. Now, that's a very good throw.
It's a very good shot. It makes all draw paths very difficult right now. Their best draw path would probably be around their corner yellows. The draw around that center red may be a little difficult with the outturn. It's still there. They just have to be able to navigate a tight port,
especially with the rotation or with the curl going maybe the wrong way.
I agree. Lawrence has elected to peel, which is a good call here. Make sure they have a shot here come later.
Scoring is important, I think. I think it's a little, they're not down enough that it's time to go crazy for their 2. They don't need to do anything crazy. Just as long as they make sure they get their 1 here, they're okay. Does get that. He does spill off the second guard just to touch the 12-foot though. That is, they do get rid of both center guards, which is pretty good. They do touch the corner and stick a little closer center than maybe than they wanted to, but it's still overall a good throw. Schoenhardt just appears to be replacing the guard. Which rock would you need to protect here? The outside one or the inside one? Would you try and split them the difference and get them both?
I think you'd want to guard more so of the outside one biting the 8-foot, because even if they did want to chase that one top 12, it'd be a very difficult shot to roll in the house.
For sure.
If you could just more so guard shot rock and maybe guard a piece of that top one, like show a piece of the shot rock on the outside, that wouldn't be a bad shot at all.
Allows them to chase, and if they paper it, it could push it towards the guards on the left side.
Yeah, or if they chase and roll out, they go have another chance to make a better shot afterwards.
It is running a little deeper. Appears to be overcurling a tiny bit, but I do think they split the difference, covered parts of both. Overall, pretty good throw.
Very good shot. Makes the hit and roll here for Team Lawrence pretty difficult, especially with this curl. But with the right weight here, they may be able to roll in a little bit and make Schoenhardt's next shot a little more difficult.
With the roll in, it would set up a definite chance at a 2. With only one other rock in the rings, this is a very important shot here.
Pretty clean release there.
Are sweeping it early, but this is the curly turn, so they switching now for the curl. Give a little bit of very tight to that guard.
Pretty good shot there still from.
Do appear to bury it a tiny bit more, I believe. And with it being close to the guard, there's almost no way to roll that underneath. So Schoenhardt will have to roll away.
Very good shot there from Lawrence. Make Schoenhardt's shot a little more difficult. And at the very worst, it will require Schoenhardt to roll away and may even open up a draw path for Team Lawrence if they elect to go around the centers this late in the end.
With this path, what weight would you believe to be appropriate? Hack, board? Would you throw more?
I would probably throw hack. I think you actually want to throw board because you do have to kill it through the house
and roll away a little bit.
Yeah, so I think board would be the good weight. It does seem like it did put it out just a little bit.
Does get contact, but it is pretty. He did push it towards the corners. It does appear to have spilled into that hole, so he does still have that option, but I think it's a little bit buried still.
And on the straight side, that'd be a difficult shot to chase.
It might just be a rip later in the end, but Lawrence does appear to have a good chance at a 2 here, especially with that corner being buried. It'll be tough to roll back to a 4-foot. Now there's got to draw on the swingy side just to sit 2. Preferably top 4-ish.
Yeah, if Lawrence can put one top 4 here, Schoenhardt could be in a lot of trouble, and potentially even a 3 in play here if this rock is put perfectly.
Game updates on sheet B. After 5, the score is 9-3, and for Hlushak, and on sheet D, the score is 7-1 for Mitsopolis over Falkenberg.
Lawrence does tick off the center guard, but it's not a bad shot whatsoever. They do split the rings.
It's deuce at 2.
And the 2 sit 2. Schoenhardt has elected to be very aggressive right now and go under their centers. And if they can make it, they'd be in a very good spot to steal yet again. However, they are shooting against 2, so this is a very high pressure shot.
It is aggressive. I do like the call. It's just, it is a make or break, because if they do spill off or end up running deep, it's a tough shot, because they could end up looking at a 3 here, and after up 2, giving up a 3, it's a tough pill to swallow. Definitely, you'd lose all momentum at that point. Sweeping it deep, it does matter more to be buried than it does if it's deep. It does appear to be pretty much wide open, but the guards are still in place, so the roll-in will be a little tougher.
Wade there was pretty much perfect with the sweep, but it just got out a little wider and wasn't quite able to come back. Very good attempt, though.
Does leave Lawrence to have the little roll-in here.
If Lawrence can make this perfect hit and roll, they'd be in a very good opportunity for 3. Potentially even add up on a 4th. Rocky's running pretty straight.
They are sweeping for line, though. Oh, just a little roll outwards. Had to switch calls there, just halfway down. Couldn't get the roll inwards. I do like that. That was a good heads-up call from the skip, just to switch sides, because noting that's, or even like they had to roll a little bit, like as much as they did, so that the roll back stays behind T, or it's still tougher. I do like that switch.
Schoenhardt now has the opportunity to make a double, or if they want to continue with their aggressive play, they can try the hit and roll under. I think the double would probably be the safer call. However, I think if they do make the double, you might see Lawrence ignore that rock, since it would be second shot, and try and sink another one.
Oh, Coach has called a timeout. It does look like they're still calling the double, I believe, because that's what he was lining up, and he did not look at it a second time, but there is still a chance he calls the double, or the roll. With that ice, I would say that's a double. Not sure any weight outside of maybe hack or board will curl that much. It is the swingy side, though, and yeah, no, with the question of turn, that is definitely the double. It's the in-turn. Probably going to throw a fair amount of weight, half rock, maybe a little thicker.
You might get away a little thinner too. With them being that flat and pretty close together, you have a little more leeway for these doubles.
Which would you throw this turn? Or
I would definitely
that's a lot less weight than I was expecting. This could actually be the hit and roll.
Maybe the hit and roll, actually. It's definitely curling like it.
He's got the left side of the nose. Oh, just got it a little too thin.
Tough break there for Team Schoenhardt, as Team Lawrence can now bury one really well. I don't like throwing a guard here. I would definitely try and sink another one.
What guard?
Top 8, top 4.
Leave it. I would prefer to leave this probably 3/4 open, even just so that if they do manage to sink one of the rocks in a round, you have an angle in there for your 3 or 4. Don't want to fully bury this and take away any chance, because if they can throw that out turn and catch the inside of the left side yellow, they could roll underneath, and if you don't have an angle into there, that's a pretty tough spill. It's tough to lose a 3 off of that.
I think you may also want to leave your rock here like half open or so, and maybe entice Schoenhardt into potentially playing the double on the wide one, or even just chasing it, and maybe bringing up the guards in play, and that may even get you a 4.
The risk with that is that you could leave a triple. If you try to test him to throw the double, he makes it perfect, then you could start going from a 3 or 4 spot to getting forced, which
looks pretty good here.
It's running nice. They are switching for curl now, so they do want to bury this a little more, but it looks like it's going to run a little bit deep, actually. Maybe give him a chance to freeze and save himself.
Ooh,
just
it's a
past
little
T.
deep there. Now Schoenhardt has the opportunity to take away the whole end with a perfect freeze.
And turn a 3 into a steal.
And turn a 3 into a pretty good chance of a steal. This could be a game-deciding shot here.
Does have to be pretty perfect,
It
though.
has to be pretty perfect. Any roll off here, Team Lawrence could have a shot for 4.
He's okay to bounce a little bit, so long as he leaves, as long as he buries a corner of his rock and stays within, I would say probably half a foot of the back yellow. As long as he buries it, then he's got. It should be okay at that point. But this is a very precise shot. I do believe line matters a lot more than weight here, because if you can bury this rock underneath, even if you're only second shot, it's a good way to count. It's a good way to cut them down in points. It just matters to make sure you get to at least second shot. Is there any other call that you think could be made here? I don't think.
You could be really safe and you could hit the wide one, give up 3, but that's you're
not
still going down by
safe,
1.
Yeah.
And this rock, the sweepers have not touched it. Oh,
he's
looks
starting
pretty
to
close,
curl.
though.
It looks a little heavy. Just needs to start grabbing. Does look like he's gonna bounce off. Ooh, oh no, never mind. No contact. And that was dead through. Just a little overthrown. Looked like it was really close on line. Just needed a little bit less weight.
And Lawrence out of nowhere has a shot for 4. This could be a huge gain of momentum for Team Lawrence, especially after giving up a steal of 2 in the past, and to follow it up with a score of 4 could be huge for their momentum.
Would definitely help with vibes on the ice, make the guys feel a little bit happier, I imagine.
Most definitely. 4s always seem to lighten up the mood in games. I know I've never complained about getting a 4. However, I have complained about giving up 4s though, so.
Those are never as fun, I gotta say.
No, I agree. Lawrence gotta be full 12 here.
Does look a little tighter than the last rock was. And the sweepers are making me think it's a little heavy too.
Does look a little hot, but they do have some backing to come down to.
It does look like it's a little more than the last rock, but if he has backing, he should be okay. Yeah, he does get contact, but that rock was going to probably be through the rings without contact.
Well, Lawrence,
still a 4.
A 4 takes control of this game. 2 ends left, 7-5 after 6. And we are back here in the 7th end of a back and forth battle here between Lawrence and Schoenhardt. Lawrence, after coming off a huge 4-pointer in the 6th end, has elected to go top 4 here. And I believe that is the right call. I don't know if you want to throw a guard up too this late in the game and let them come around and play towards the center.
Oh, but it does squeak a little bit deep, which can come into play later end. It's just a catcher or something they can freeze down to. Not where you want that first rock to be. When you're up by 2 or 3, it's always the toughest to be your first rock, because you can't be light and you can't be heavy. It's just such a perfect shot. When I always think the lead's job is easy, but it does get tough sometimes. Just gotta be so precise.
I believe after the skip stones, I believe the lead stones are the 2 most important rocks in the end, because they dictate how the end can go. And if with a good setup, you have a really good opportunity for your goal of either stealing, scoring 2, forcing, whatever it may be. Those 2 lead rocks are very important.
It's a lot easier to shoot well when your setup is good too, because if you're trying to shoot back from 2 rocks, you're gonna have to throw a lot of combination shots and hits, and especially if you're good at a soft weight game, it's just never as easy to come back from that. But it's a really good throw out shot from Schoenhardt. Great start. Looks like Lawrence is gonna have to try again on that top 4 rock. Just gotta be, again, it's a tough shot because it's just so hard to be perfect, but at this score, it's gotta be.
As Team Schoenhardt, would you ever throw up a second corner, or are you okay with the one you have up and you can play around that one?
That depends on this rock. If this rock is perfect, I don't think I could, in good conscience, throw it up. But with the center guard, I would consider going around it, and because then that makes them play around and maybe even rip their own rock. And then that gives you a freebie to go around your corner, which then gives you a pretty good chance at a 2. And if you get 1 miss, you could get a 3.
Schoenhardt elects to hit this back one and potentially roll under.
I do agree with this call. With that rock in play, it's tough to get the corner in play just because of it is a little wider than you maybe would want it. It's a good corner. It's just it's only barely touching 8 foot from the hack, so it is a little tough.
I think you could ignore it this early in the end. I think as Schoenhardt, you definitely do try to want to score 2 here, and then steal in the 8th end, because a force here or even a blank definitely does make it a little more difficult. A blank basically kind of just adds on an end to this game unless you're able to score 3 in the 8th end. But I like the shot call here with going under the corner. This rock is really curling.
It does still have to go a little further, though. They have to bury this. It does look like it stopped curling a little bit, actually. Like, it looked like it straightened out a tiny bit once it got to the hog line.
Very good shot here from the lead.
I think they got...
I believe they got a piece.
I'm going to go look.
It is very close. Both skips are looking at it. From my angle, it does look like it's in, and I believe they both determined it is in with this shot here from Timothy Lawrence. I believe if they can make this shot and roll right behind your center, you're set up really well for force or maybe even a steal. However, you do have to be a little careful for that corner guard because that cannot be removed quite yet. So the pro miss would be to miss a little wide and just roll out than to rack on that corner.
From overhead, it did look like this is in, and seeing as they are chasing, it must be.
Looks pretty good. It's getting close to the corner.
No, they got it. They're still by. Oh, just had to get back on it a little bit, but great throw. Did get a little bit cute with it, but perfect throw.
Very good shot there. Schoenhardt can now roll right back to where that rock was, or they could also possibly ignore it if they'd like and just draw another one right under there.
I do like personally the hit and roll. Just don't want to get too many L's in the rings, because as much as you think that you have to get 2, you can't give up a steal here. Down 3 is, I would say, a lot worse than down 1 without. Sorry.
I agree. You as much as you do want to try and put rocks under the corners, you don't want to leave too many yellows around.
And with a no tick roll, it's very much doable to steal a couple points once or twice. So I just don't gotta go crazy here. You gotta make sure rocks go away. Does run dead straight there.
Runs dead straight, but with a little bit of an outward motion, and just does miss that rock on the outside just a little bit. Gives Lawrence another opportunity to throw another rock into the house.
Does elect to throw the guard though.
I personally would probably attempt the intern draw.
That was my first thought as well.
One top 4, put even more pressure on him.
Maybe leave it half open to protect the back rock as well.
Exactly, but this is not a bad shot either. It protects the rock in the top 12. It also, in a way, kind of chokes off the corner if it's put perfectly. But it does seem a little bit tight out of the hand.
And it does look heavy as well. Maybe they were throwing the draw with this turn. But it will be on.
Oh, it's pretty close.
Oh, no, just gets it by. Not sure if that was the call, but if it was, very well executed. Did run a little deeper than they maybe wanted to, but
still a very good shot there.
With how the ice has been playing as straight as it's been, that's a very good throw. We might have missed that call, actually.
Yeah, that was very close to the guard. That didn't look like that would be able to get by, but with the sweep in the ice,
Very
they
good
were able
sweep.
to get that one by in a pretty good spot.
Did run a little deep, which does leave an opportunity, but they do elect to rip now, which makes me think they're gonna try. They're okay with their one here.
If Schoenhardt can kill this one as well as the top one in the top 12, they might even have a chance at a blank potentially if they're more comfortable with that.
Yeah, they could. I think does get it thick.
Just
Gets the one in the
overcurls
back
a
of the range,
little,
though.
and they move all the rocks around, which isn't bad at all.
Definitely makes the one easier here, but leaves the center guard up, which is a little bit tough.
Not bad at all, because those two rocks in the back of the house are probably actually helping them now in the situation as catchers.
Definitely.
So maybe later on in the end, if a rock does have been removed for Lawrence, those rocks are still there that could definitely be jammed upon.
Lawrence is electing to throw the same turn as last time. That hole looks quite difficult, but he did just make it, so I do like this call. Sweepers are on it earlier. Might be a little less weight. Line looks to be a little wider actually this time. They have switched. Oh no, they're back.
They just get off that top one a little bit there.
Lines. Oh, nope. Just paper
grazes
the top
off
rock.
the top one.
Spills.
Mostly
Just
open.
They do have the catches on the outside, but that's at this point I don't think Schoenhardt needs to kill rocks as much. They just need to remove them from the forefoot.
Keeping this rock in play wouldn't be the worst call either. Like with like a backline hack weight wouldn't be that bad either. However,
Yes, they do already have the two catches on that one side, so I think the play here is to try and roll even half open on the right side so that any attempt at a chase will go into that pile of rocks. Just add extra, make it extra difficult.
there's a little softer
close.
weight. Looks
Oh,
pretty close.
no,
No,
he's on
it's
the
a
guard.
little tight there on the guard.
Looked like he played a little less weight than maybe was called, as that guard is actually still in play. And now those catchers are actually looking like they're pretty productive for yellow, as they do outcount what is a perfect rock underneath the corner. Gonna need to make quite a few rocks go away before that one can count in. Just replacing the guard now. Do you want to cover up the yellow, or would you think it's best to go over the pin?
I would try and bite center line, just cross center line just a little bit. Show maybe half of that wide yellow. And also like so they can choose to chase that side yellow and potentially roll out, or just go right around and you could freeze right to him. It does look a little heavier though.
It's going to bounce off the outside one. Spills over, not too bad. Did look like a lot of weight that tapped it to almost T-line, so might have been a bit overthrown. Just that, because that probably is back 8 on its own, no contact, but still not terrible. It's a nice roll. Sitting a good 1, 2, 3, I think 5. Just does leave the hit and roll underneath. It's a short run, but got to make the shots first. Appears as though he has
Put it out just a little bit there.
might have been like a fear thing from the last rock. Just having missed inside, just a mental and shit thing. Does get good contact, but spills just a bit too far.
Yeah, as Lawrence is given another opportunity to draw another one under that one top 12 and maybe even show half of the rock, and might entice Schoenhardt to chase it later in the end.
Could, but at this point, I don't think it's. I think it might be worth going in a little bit, trying to play for a few extra points, because if they can get if they can steal again, that would put the game almost out of reach, especially if it was more than one. He is checking to make sure that he's shot. They are checking to make sure they're shot at least 4, but they're definitely shot 3. So at this, I'm not sure there's even a triple to play at. So it almost doesn't matter. Just gotta make the draw here.
As for an update on our other games, on sheet B, Hofstra was able to get 3 to make it a 9-6 game in 7 against Halushak, and On sheet D, Falkenberg was able to score 1 and 5, but Mistopoulos followed up with another 2 and 6 to ultimately end the game 9-1 for Mistopoulos. This rock just got a little tight on the line.
Does set up does bounce off, so no stagger, and takes away any real drop path to the forefoot. Almost has to throw the hit and roll, or actually that does maybe put a quad in play to bring the 2 edge rocks back in. Because if you manage to crotch the 2 on the top, you could catch 1 or 2 of the edge rocks, which could leave you with something pretty nice at the end if you get a little bit lucky.
That would be a very precise shot, though. Someone had to attempt.
But
if you were desperate, you may attempt it. It would also require a ton of weight, I believe.
Good 6-second rock.
Yeah, I'm not even sure I can throw 6 seconds accurately.
I'm not sure you can throw 6 seconds at all.
Yeah, that's true. But it's definitely
like
there.
They are looking at it.
I don't know if they're trying the double or if it's actually an attempt at.
I think it's a quad.
It's tough. I'm not sure if it does quad because of I don't see how the back left rock is gonna go. But if they can make this and sit second, third, fourth, at least that way there's something. Because if you throw a lot of weight and just gets this perfect, all you need is 1 more double.
I believe if you're like attempting this quad, you have to hit the one on the left
first. But like just because you're gonna hit the top of the back left and probably the top of the. I don't even know.
I don't know. That quad seems very hard if it's even there.
It might be there definitely is a triple. There's definitely 2 different triples here, but to get them both might be a pipe dream. He's not throwing as much as I thought he might, but he's close at a hand. Little bit curling. Oh, that's really taking off.
Might have just started that one just a hair, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe a little. Does give him a drop path, though, which is... He did need that. He needed to have 2 options on his last rock to set something up here. Coach did call a timeout here. I'm not sure. What would you call here?
I think I would try either the tap on that 12-foot rock or even draw around. But I think with his ice being so straight, I think the tap may just be a little bit easier.
I personally think I'd throw draw just as you don't have to bury a lot, and just because right now there's no angle where they can kill all your rocks, and just messing with that could give something completely accidental and crazy. But with 3 catchers on the edges for red, if you give him some ability to make a big hit, it could be a lot. Does appear he's going with a draw. I do like that.
I think if you can put like almost even top 8 and take away that draw path,
make him throw the hit and roll on the outside rock,
and make a tough
tougher
shot
draw on the outside. Either way, even if we have to throw a rock right now, it's far from a gimme, especially with the pressure against the 4.
Final update from sheet B as Halushak was able to score 3 more in 7 to finish the game 11-6 as they earn first place bye to the provincial final as well as a berth to the U18 Nationals. This looks like a very good shot.
It's looking really good. A little bit wide, but oh no, it's coming up really nicely. It does bury, maybe not all, or maybe not, it doesn't bury, but it gets edge on edge. You can't hit that rock for a shot, I don't think. They are going to have to play at the outside rock or try and spin this one down on a roll. I think I'd be playing at the outside rock.
They may be able
4.
to get shot here if they knows, but with how they're calling the shot, I believe
it does look
that
like you'd have to hit the outside.
You'd have to hit the outside one to score.
To spill into the 4-foot.
It looks like it may be close though, so like they could nose it and it may come down to a measure, but I don't know if you want to rely on a measure.
Chance, if it's a steal of 1 here is pretty bad here, and I mean if you hit the outside rock and it's still a steal of 1, it's like, I mean either way it's in question. I think this is the play.
I agree. You got to
roll
into
the touch 4, or maybe a little more than touch 4, but
half 4 I believe is where that top.
Just have to be probably a foot, 2 feet roll on the left. I think this is the call. Unless they want to throw soft to the top rock, but I do believe that I like this call. Should this... Is this straight? I can't remember anymore.
This is the straight side.
This is the straight turn, so it is a little bit... It's
Gotta
gonna
be careful to watch the straight path here.
But he does have a lot of room to roll. He can go with the far side of the forefoot still. Does look like a fair amount of weight. A little soft on the handle. Looking close.
Ooh, it's
Sleepers
a
are
little
close. Sleepers are close. Does have the curl now. Just not moving. Straight side. That's just gonna roll through it and manages
Through
to
the
not catch
port.
either the catchers. That
Is a steal of at
3 or
least
4.
30, and I think that might be
is
the
game.
game regardless. Yep. As we have a final here on sheet C with a final score of 10 to 5 for Team Lawrence here, as Lawrence finishes off their provincials with a solid 3-4 record, and Team Schoenhardt moves to 4-3, pardon me, and I believe that puts them into the semifinals tomorrow morning at 10:30 against Team Hebert. $9:30, pardon me. Thank you all for tuning in, and there will be another draw tonight at 8:30, the final women's round robin draw. So make sure you tune in and enjoy. Thank you.